Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to make an adjustment in the agenda in that we're going to have Chase do the water right after the safety moment so that the representative from Westler can be dismissed. And so, roll call.
Rick Gunion.
Present.
Krista Stillwell.
Present.
Mike Reeder.
Present.
Mike Kelly.
Present. No public participation, so we'll go to safety minute, and that's Todd today.
Okay, just a quick reminder, school's getting ready to get out and there'll be a lot more kids, and especially with our crews running around all over town, just be careful of the surroundings with the little ones out playing and chasing balls, riding bikes, because I know there was an unfortunate accident, I believe Saturday evening, with a little guy on a bicycle. So we just want to keep our eyes open to the surroundings as we're going about our business around town.
Thank you, Todd. Chase.
So for us, moving forward, I'm going to have Andrew come up here as well and kind of speak on behalf of it. But with the Armstrong Street project, Watson Excavating has the low bid and has been recommended for that contract. That I don't have that bid price with me on what it was to remind you.
It's in the packet, actually.
Is it?
Yep, I included the tabulation sheet in there.
Yeah, Watson's price is $363,150. Do you want to speak on behalf of?
Sure, I can comment. So you received 4 bids for the project. This is a portion of Armstrong Street to replace water main, old cast iron, and double jacketed concrete pipe in your system. The portion that you're replacing is underneath Prairie Creek all the way to Clay. It's about 700-ish feet. 4 bids were received, and the low bid, as Chase mentioned, was $363,150. Westler has reviewed all the bid packets. Watson Excavating is the low bidder. They have submitted everything from our opinion and from what we've reviewed, and we recommend to award the project to Watson.
Can I ask a question, Andrew?
Sure, Rick.
So, understanding they were the lowest bid, were they also the best bid, or how did you consider a comparative bid quality, let's say?
So, in the best interest of the city to award the project, you award the project to the most responsible and responsive bidder, and the lowest too, from Indiana public bidding laws, and Watson is that. Their bid packet was complete. We didn't take any exceptions with their what they submitted in their bid. I personally called 3-4 references that they had in their bid packet. That's why we asked for their references, and we checked and made sure that they get good reviews from the clients that they're currently working with. Westler has worked with Watson as well. Currently, we have 2 projects going with Watson, and they are performing to our expectations. There's been some communication challenges with them, but that's something that Westler will work through with them during construction.
Well, thank you. That brief update kind of answered my other questions pertaining to background and history, knowledge of historical projects and so forth. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We need a motion to accept that particular bid on behalf of the board.
Make a motion that we accept the bid of Watson Excavating for $363,150.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mike Reeder and second by Rick Gunyon to accept that proposed bid. So roll call.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. Isn't there an associated thing we're going to do with that?
Yeah, we'll get.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
You want me to stay up here or you want me to go sit down?
I don't care.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, with this, there was an amendment to a task order to have Westler's supply, or not supply, but to have a part-time inspector here because it is a pretty good-sized job, and we don't have the manpower right now to have somebody out there that often. We will be out there as well. I'm sure Chase will. But with that, it was a. Oh, okay. I'll just go ahead and pass that one around. What was it? It was for the construction admin, 27,002, and then the RPR, which is the inspector, 20 hours a week till job's completed. And this is not to exceed. If they get done early, then this will come down at 36,800 for a total of $64,000 to have them be on site with this job. So.
Questions about the task order amendment? And in my opinion, it's probably important that we do have inspection of this on a regular basis. Plus, Chase's guys will be, and Chase will be watching it too.
Is the task order being passed around for signature?
You should have gotten it already.
Not for signature, it hadn't been voted on, Rick. I've got the one here to sign, if it's approved.
So how did I get the task order?
It was in the.
It was in your packet.
Okay.
Did you get it?
Mm-hmm.
I was wanting to make sure it's the same task order that we're signing, and you're telling me it is.
The
That's
thing
fine.
coming here is not the task order.
This is just awarding the contract
Contract.
for Watson. This
Okay.
one is.
And then the next one is the task order amendment. is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Mhm.
Okay. Very good.
I make a motion that we approve Amendment 1, Task Order
Number one.
number 1. No, it said something else,
23,
didn't it? 20-something?
Number
Oh.
23.
23?
Oh, it is number 23. I was
Yeah.
looking right here.
Arm
Yeah,
Street
sorry.
Water
Yes.
Main Replacement Project.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'll second that.
All right. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. Okay, we'll get back to the agenda now with Shane.
Do we
Oh,
need to
no,
do the-
Andrew,
Do we need to do
sorry.
the minutes from the previous
Yeah,
meeting?
we'll do the minutes.
I know that's out of the ordinary on the second meeting, but
Yes, well, we'll probably be doing that from now on, so. You were provided a copy of the minutes.
Just need one of these.
Yeah, and then he's gonna take them and then email us copies of that.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second?
We have a motion by Krista and a second by Mike Reeder to approve the minutes. What was the date of those minutes again?
uh,
May
five,
5th.
5-5.
5/5/25.
Yeah.
Discussion, questions about the minutes? Roll call.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay, now we'll let you do a report.
Business as usual. March is reconciled. April is reconciled. Tyler cash to fund cash. So we're sitting in pretty good shape there. Just a couple minor adjustments or tweaks that need to be made on their side of things, and we will be fully done. I believe they are still working through their corrections to close February. My understanding is once that is done, March is ready, and then they'll be working through April. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Any questions for Andrew? Okay, Shane.
On the password reset system, put together some information. Basically, the issue is there's some users that will not change the password and force me to make a phone call to get a password reset, or they're just calling me directly because they can't send an email to say, hey, how that they need help. Either way, so to give you a little bit of background, for somebody who has a computer that they're using a computer, 7 days before their password expires, they get a message that pops up on their screen and lets them know, hey, you got 7 days to change your password. Very similar thing with the email system. 7 days before their password expires, they get an email. If they don't change it, they get another email the next day. They keep getting those emails until either they change the password or their account expires because they didn't change it. The issue comes in, most people do this no problem. It seems like it's similar people that just do this time after time. So with that, I mean, I guess all I'm saying is it's not that we don't give them opportunity. It's not that we don't notify them. We do give them warning. The password's going to expire. It's understandable if somebody goes on vacation. I mean, that's kind of a given. If they go on vacation and their password happened to expire, that's not a big deal. Looking at my notes. So right today, there are 3 different systems that the employees need to keep a password on. The computer domain for logging into their main computer, the email system that's hosted through ACCS, and now Microsoft Office 365 that we're currently migrating to. I have looked at the Microsoft 365. We can integrate the computer domain logins in with that and make that much more seamless for employees. The Microsoft 365 does have its own password reset capabilities. Currently, those aren't turned on. Like I said, currently we're still migrating to Microsoft Office 365. Also, one of the things I'm working on this year is upgrading our server operating systems for the utilities to current level. That's something else I am currently working on as well. So I guess some of the research I had looked at is, can I make... Well, let me back up a bit. Like I said, I can integrate, once the server operating systems for the utilities, and I need to talk to the city about doing the same thing, once the servers are upgraded to a current version, those can be integrated with Office 365, so the person only has one username and password to keep track of. The other thing I want to implement, and we can implement, is the fact that we have Duo, two-factor authentication. Once this integration takes place with Office 365 and computer logins, I can actually take us to passwordless logins. These guys in their departments would probably be thrilled not to have to put in another password to get access a computer or whatnot. So, so I get, my thought is, I mean, we can do something like a password reset system. My first pass at reaching out to Manage Engine, it would be the total I got from them for 150 users, and I'm not sure that that total is correct, but for 150 users, that is $3,781 just for a password reset system. If you guys give me some time and some effort to get Office 365 and the domains integrated, like I said, 365 has its own password reset system that we could turn on. And if you give me some more time, we can eventually go passwordless as well. So, you guys have any questions? Is there some guidance you'd like me to look further into the third-party password reset system?
Well, thank you, Shane. I brought this topic up because in the business world I live in, I have to go through about 8 or 10 passwords for different clients around the world. Each of them have a automated password reset system. Each of them use something you're probably aware of. You haven't mentioned it. SSO, single sign-on, and that integrates across all their systems and servers. So there's one sign-on method. And then once you have done that step using an automated password reset tool, and there's about a dozen out there, it's pretty straightforward. I brought this to the board attention. I wasn't expecting an update from you, but I appreciate that. I think the question to the board, is there any interest on the board of doing this? Shane, do you know how often the trouble ticket system mentions password reset as something we do? Because when I look at the database, it's pretty frequent, just offhand.
For the most part, it tends to be the similar people over and over.
Well,
it's more of a it's a user thing. I go so far as get some people that just tell me, oh, they don't worry about it. They just contact me and get it fixed. So, because I'll mention, it's like, did you see the message on your computer? Did you receive the email? And for some users that just don't care.
Yeah, there's no penalty to calling you after they can't get in and wait until you come and help them, and they sit around for half a day. Yeah,
right.
I understand that.
Which
So how often do you see this?
Sometimes it can be weekly.
Yeah.
But sometimes daily. But
yeah.
I mean, does it take that long? No. You know, if we're talking email, it's me sending an email to ACCS and waiting on them to get back to me, and then I reach back out to the customer.
Well, the cost, not to interrupt you, but the cost of doing business here is not only the transaction time it takes you to do the work, it's the fact you have to stop one task over here you're working on and respond to this need, and then ACCS staff have to do the same thing. And when you look at this over and over again, it's just a bunch of wasted time and interruptions that there isn't automated functionality that's available in the industry to use as an alternative. So I'll return to the board because if there's an interest in the board to avoiding this cost, then I think it's simply, we have a task we can ask Todd to assign. He can assign it to you, or he can assign it to ACCS under our contract with them, and we just get it done. But I don't know that the board wants to do this yet. We haven't discussed it as a board. So
right, and to be honest, I haven't checked with ACCS to see if they would even be willing to allow something like this to integrate with their email system. I haven't even gone that far. So, you know, there would be that to find, if they were willing, making sure there's something that is compatible.
let me ask Chairman Mike, did you mean for board discussion during the department presentation here, since you didn't want this on
I'm
new
open,
business? Or-
I'm very well ready to have some discussion of it because, this is, something that this board needs to make a decision on, not,
Well, we've talked, and my sales point here would be, this is a reoccurring, avoidable interruption and effort we've seen over, well, since 2008, since I've been involved in that here in the utilities, unofficially for the first 7 years. We can avoid it if the board so chooses. If the board doesn't want to, we'll just keep incurring the cost. It's the board's pleasure. I personally would like to see us look into it further. I don't know enough as to whether Todd should choose to ask ACCS to put this under a task order, or if Shane has time to work on it, fit it into his schedule. I don't know all the details, the predecessor antecedent activities that Shan mentioned, the things we have to do before and after. My question to the board is, do we want to pursue this or do we not?
from my standpoint, I think we need to attack the problem where the source is, and that's the user. And I think maybe before we commit financially to that, we maybe should try to fix it through communication and also through everybody that I know of that has email or a user to the computer has a supervisor somewhere. And I think that after we communicate to the supervisor of that person that regularly, that there seems to be people regularly doing that, that supervisor needs to be contacted and say, hey, you've got someone who is not, we have to change their password for them 3 times every so often or whatever, and you need to get your employee to comply with the request to change their password. And then if I'd like to take that approach before we commit financially to that.
Okay, what's the other board members' thoughts?
I agree 100%. Go to the problem and not throw money at a problem that could be fixed. It's the select few.
Okay, Kristen?
Shane, how long until we'll be going to like a one password situation? Like how long do you anticipate that transition will be taking place?
So, I mean, I was taking a upgrade approach to upgrading servers up to last week, and it didn't look like it was going to be feasible. So this week, I'm going to look at the approach of, instead of upgrading, building all new servers, and then starting the migration process from the old servers to the new. So had it been upgrades, I might have been done, like say, in a couple months.
Sure.
Just to make sure everything's fine. Now that I'm going to do building everything new, that's just going to extend that timeline out. So with that, and I didn't want to get in the weeds on it, but like Rick said, I have to build single sign-on. Yeah. That's the integration. The single sign-on is the integration with the domain servers and the Office 365. Just to give myself plenty of time, I'd like the rest of this year, because the reason I say that is I would like to get us all the way, not only to single sign-on, but all the way to passwordless. Just get rid of the passwords.
And by passwordless, do you mean passkey or what?
I mean exactly what I say. No password, passwordless. No password at all. We have Duo today. People use it today, for example, to get into the web email. They go to a page, they put in their email address, their password, and they use Duo to verify it's them. By going passwordless, for example, if you were to go to sign into a computer with your username, it's going to pop up on the screen to give you a Duo key. With Duo, it's going to be on your phone. you have to either unlock your phone with a PIN or use a face recognition on your phone. So there's more interaction from the user's phone to say, yes, this is the person. It is their phone. They send that key that they receive on their screen back through their phone back into the system. So there's already two methods to verifying that that really is the person. Goes into the system and allows them in. They don't have to come up with passwords. They don't have to think of passwords. Passwords are gone at that point.
So I had proposed this topic to the board for discussion, and I'm well short of making a motion to this effect, but I wanted some board discussion. You know, I currently work for a company that has 8,600 employees worldwide. We use automated password reset for several purposes, but that's not the size of the city and utilities. We have quite a few less users than 8,500. So Mike, I agree with you. We have the supervisors of all the people in the city and utilities in the room today. We have Mayor Judy Sheets, and we have General Manager Todd Corey. If they would so oblige us, do you want to ask them if they would support a policy that asks the employee to please don't do that? Because we could have Shane and Todd create a form letter, and that's what is given to the employee when this notice comes up, and it would notify them and request their cooperation, but only, in my opinion, only if the supervisors you're talking about would back up that request. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, and I take it down to another level though. I think Jason's supervisor, he has a number of people under him. PJ does.
As the city does.
As the city does. Like
Department
they have a
heads.
fire chief and a police chief and a
But wouldn't that be
superintendent?
communicated through the general manager and through the mayor? I mean, they all work for them, right? So,
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's a way to approach this rather than to throw money at it right now. Let's
So I agree. Is there anyone on the board that doesn't agree with that? Is that the consensus? Go in that
I
direction?
agree.
I agree.
My
Yeah.
phone remembers passwords, so.
Okay.
And I think probably with the board's approval, I'll work with Todd and with Judy, and we'll try to come up with some kind of maybe a meeting with supervisors or something to try to stem this problem before we'd have to put more money in it.
Well, I agree with that, and I want to back up Shane's inference there. When I have sample checked the ticket system a few times, it has been the two handfuls of the same people that we always see ignoring this. It's not a broad spectrum of employees. It's the same 8 people or 12 people or whoever it is, right? So it should be resolvable from a supervisor perspective, I think. So let's give it a try.
Thank you. Next item, Mark, you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to kind of add something since we were mentioned. It is true. I like what she's doing with it and suggestions you made. I think that's a good idea. I also think it's a good idea to try to get the customers to, I call them customers, but try to get your people to follow the rules and change the passwords, because it's just good for them to learn, to be aware of security issues. So I think that's a great opportunity to do that. But I want you to know we don't charge people for fixing passwords. The logic behind it is we're taking care of your server, and we consider that to be a server issue. Probably technically a user issue since they could avoid it, but we just never charge for that. We do have some people that call us directly to go through your ticket system, and we allow that because it's like we don't want to hassle users because it really isn't worth it. But it is kind of the same people all the time, and they're like friendly and nice, and nobody ever gets upset. Hey, you fix our password for us, you know. So it is something that I think would be a good opportunity to teach them that security is actually important. biggest way people get hacked is by somebody giving information verbally to someone else. Um, you know, that's the most common way. So the more you can kind of pound security into people, the better. And if Jane can get you to the point where you can have security without passwords, I think that's fantastic.
So that's interesting, Mark. So the nature and extent of the problem is actually bigger than when I look at the ticket system. I'm not seeing those people that call you directly.
That would be correct. It's not huge. It's kind of the same people, and but it's not a huge big deal. We would have brought it up a long time ago, and I know Shane and Claire talked about it before.
Yeah,
It is something that's not unreasonable to expect your users to cooperate on something like that. I mean, like you chose to have 2 passwords, and automatically change passwords and all that kind of stuff. And that's good for security, but people need to understand it for their benefit.
well, and it does beg the question if you consider motivational factors. And I'm a worker in the city, and I need my computer to do my job, and I lose access because my password expired. What do I actually do until it gets reset? I don't work on the computer, that's for sure. So I'm supportive of that. So Mike's going to take the ball from a board perspective. Is
Yeah.
that right?
And Mark, we would like to know those people that are calling direct.
Who's gonna make me rat them out?
Yeah.
You can do it in writing. Just keep it discreet.
All right, next topic, Jane.
The other request was to be able to pull video feed from each of the utility board desks. In the past, we had used a device called ClickShare. The device worked great when it was not that old. It's pretty old now. It's behind technology, and it doesn't work very well anymore. Devices like that can cost, at the least, can cost a couple $1,000s, but typically $3,000 and up for a device like that. It really just depends on what model you're looking at and the features. There's all kinds of brands out there with various features. The ClickShare is nice because it is fairly universal. The gentleman that put together the streaming system that we're using now, AV Pro, I talked to him about this issue. He's like, I got a solution for you, and it's not going to cost a lot of money. Basically, we would have a switch over here that Andrew would have access to. We'd have cables going to the desks, and somebody could plug in a laptop, or if we need to work with a tablet, I'm sure there's a way we could get a tablet to work with that system as well. But for example, Andrew could press a button for Mike's desk or a button for Krista's desk, and then that would switch that input up to these monitors and your monitors. That system, with the switching device, cables, some miscellaneous parts would cost, plus labor, $9,777 to get that installed. Now, I do have to say, AV Pro did mention that, if we get this device, the place he would get it from, he would have 30 days to return it should there be a problem for any reason. So it'd be such a thing that he would like to, if we do move forward with this, he would like to get it installed and tested to make sure there's no problems. If there is, the switching device could be sent back and exchanged for something different. That opens the door to the fact that if that one didn't work, we don't know what we'd be buying next.
Well, since I'm the maybe one of the individuals or the individual that brought this up, I brought this up a couple months ago because I was concerned about the safety hazard of running an HDMI cable across the floor here to my computer. If we're looking at spending $9,000, I think that's just maybe about $8,800 too much. is there an option to have a dedicated, let's call it USB computer in the room? And we would simply load the files we want to present on to that computer for the meeting?
So let me make a correction. If I misspoke, I apologize. It's $977.
I heard 9,000, but.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I said 9,000.
Okay, well,
It's
then in that case,
$977.
It's only about $880 too much money. So I appreciate you looking into that, but back to my question, can't we just have a USB computer and just use that?
Rick,
We had- Go ahead.
Shane, am I not understanding? If I give you something that I want everybody to see, and you put it on your system back there, you can bring it up on the screen, isn't that correct?
I do need to clarify. If I put that on the screen, on that computer screen, everybody streaming could see it.
Yeah. It wouldn't pop
But I
out.
don't,
It wouldn't
not,
come out of-
when we were talking the other day, I think I misspoke. It's not necessarily gonna come back into these monitors.
Okay.
That would be the streaming only.
How is
Right.
the information flow for what we're showing now on the screen? What computer is that coming from, Mike?
Coming from mine on a cable.
Okay, can't there be a second cable that Andrew plugs in for a USB machine?
So we've done a computer before. You're gonna spend at least $900, if not more, just to get a computer in here that's gonna require updates and a constant attention. Most times in the past, when people presented, they didn't want to use the computer. A lot of times they'd bring their own laptops.
The cable that's on my computer right now, is it directly fastened over there?
Yeah.
And how long is it?
It's probably 3 feet plus, what, 48 inches times 3?
It might, well, it was reaching the middle desk there because Kent was using it.
What about getting a cable that if instead of going across, we go around, and when Rick has something, we plug it into Rick's, and Mike has something, we plug it in. A cable can't cost $900.
And it's a 30-second changeover during a meeting. It's unplugging it from there and putting it over here. That's 30 seconds.
I mean,
So that would be, if we don't do anything else other than a cable, that's $75 for that cable. And then the additional wear and tear on this device, unplugging and plugging back in. The recommendation
well,
would
it
be,
won't be plugging in back in there. It only goes once, right?
no, there's one input.
Yeah.
So we'd have to unplug yours and plug his in.
Plug it,
No, no.
unplug it from here.
This cable is long enough.
That cable's not long enough.
I know. We
Oh.
replaced this cable with one long enough to make the circle without going around across. It only has to be unplugged at the place where the computer is.
The cable that used to run over, that occasionally ran over here, if you physically ran that cable external to the desks and it was able to plug into any one location, that's what Mike's talking about. This end, not your end.
Got you. Having one on the outside of the desk, not running underneath.
Correct.
Where all
Right.
of these cables are.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That would work.
To clarify, you mean on the
On the outside, like up
Outside?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
the
then it could
inside.
just be unplugged from that computer and they just walk it back to whatever computer it needs to be.
I mean,
What is it?
I can make that measurement and see what that
75
is.
feet?
It was 50 feet to go inside the desks from here all the way over to Rick. So I'd have to remeasure. You're talking 50-foot cable, 35-foot cable, 30-foot cable, 25-foot cable. There's only certain lengths we can go with.
I certainly would like to try that before we go.
I agree.
Okay.
Consensus on trying that?
Sure.
Sounds
Yes.
good.
All right.
I'll get a new measurement and see what cable we would need.
Then next item you have is the live meeting. Are we live tonight?
I'm sorry, we are live tonight. Actually, we've been recording for a while. We just have not made public any of these meetings yet. So last week was made public as we streamed it. Same thing this week. We're streaming live tonight.
And for the record, where are we streaming to? Where does the user go see this live?
If you look at the bottom of the agenda, it says Meeting live and stored on YouTube channel Frankfort Municipal Utilities.
So we're not on the City of Frankfort YouTube channel. We're on our own YouTube channel.
Correct.
We are on our own.
Okay.
That keeps everything tidy and there's no confusion. Also, I added links to the utility board page on the frankfort-in.gov website today. So if somebody were to look for this streaming, all they have to do is go to frankfort-in.gov, go to departments, go to utility board, and they'll find a link right in there for getting to the streaming.
So if I read the agenda, which I can barely do, we're certain that if you search for Frankfort Municipal Utilities, you won't get Frankfort, Michigan, Frankfort, Illinois, Frankfort, Wisconsin. You'll get Frankfort, Indiana.
Well, I think you know the answer to that question. You search that, you're going to find Frankfort in all the states around us. So somebody's just going to have to be discerning when they look for that to find Frankfort, Indiana.
So you could put a link on the notice.
Right. That is the link.
There is a link on the City of Frankfort-in.gov page. If you go to Departments, Utility Service Board, there will be, under the useful links, there is a link in there today.
Could that link be put on the agenda?
It is on the agenda. That's why it's blue. Granted,
You want the HTTPS /
That's
/
what we normally see.
It's about this
YouTube.com.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It wouldn't be pretty. We can do that, but it wouldn't be pretty.
Chairman's discretion, whatever Mike wants to do.
I had the link on there, but it was had all kinds of things in it.
We'll look into a way of making it look a little nicer.
But as far as compliance with the 1167, we're completely compliant, ready to go.
We're not. We haven't talked about the other parts that are required under that. Do we want to ask the question?
That's a Alicia question.
The law says that we have to live stream it, which we are doing. They say that it has to be live streamed in a manner that is coherent, so you can't just have like, you know, a Facebook video that you can't actually hear. Ours, I did watch last week's to make sure that you could hear it adequately, and unless you're in the audience talking and you don't come up to the podium, you can hear everybody fine. We have to archive it, and our YouTube channel will archive it for us automatically, so we've got that handled. So we should be fine as far as compliance goes.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for Shane? Thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back into, we've done the water. You got anything else from water you need to do, Chase? Wastewater treatment.
Okay, at the plant, we had north secondary sweep was over torqued. We had to drain it, clean it, find the obstruction, remove it. Also had a non-potable repair that needed made. We chlorinated filters. Sewer maintenance helped with those last two tasks. We also drained the north aeration and cleaned the air diffusers of the north aeration. Sewer maintenance replaced 2 catch basins on Barner and Columbia and a catch basin on Walnut and Crescent. Replaced 3 sanitary manholes on Barner, and these are all for the paving list. We had 1 sewer call, and it was on the homeowner.
Questions? In case you haven't figured this out yet, legal, you don't see legal on your agenda. It's because we're going to address legal issues in the department that they happen. So there is something with the bot. Where are we in bot?
With the bot, the next step is to get the public-private agreement drafted. Todd has been working with Brenton. Is that his name? Yeah, that he was out of the office.
No, there was an attachment on there.
Oh, I don't think there was an attachment on the one you sent. Can you
I'll send
forward
it
it?
to you again.
Okay, I took it as he's out of the office until Monday. I'll get it Monday. So,
No, there was an
um,
attachment. I'm
okay, no, that's okay. That's okay. So, Todd's gonna send me the form that they would prefer that we use. I will get the public-private agreement drafted, and then I'll get that to you, Mike, so it can go to the board. Then we'll want to review it, and then eventually we'll need to approve it. We'll also have to send that over to the developer, which is F&K Construction, so that they can approve it as well. So they'll have to take a look at it as well. So it'll be a little bit before we're ready to approve that, but that is in the works.
Will Greg have to approve that too? Matt's
Who is he?
he's kind of what is he, the general contractor?
He's the developer.
Developer, yes.
Yeah, the developer will need to approve it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if he's the developer, then yes, he'll need to approve it, and then we'll need to approve it. We just, like I said, Todd sent me an email. I think it was on Friday, and he'll get me the one with the attachment, and then we'll get that drafted and ready to go. I think my intention is to kind of go through it all, and then send it back to the developer and see if they have any changes before I bring it to the board. And then if we have any additional changes, we can go and get those taken care of. But that way they have a read through before we approve it, just because otherwise we're going to bring it here, approve it, and then turn around and give it to them. And so that's my intention.
Questions? All right. Rick, you asked, I did put a note in here about the fishing time, but
I got it, Todd.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Wrong one.
No worries.
I apologize.
No worries.
So, first of all, Todd, let me ask, who was involved in repairing the wetlands overlook at Lagoons?
Steve Myers and what's Vince's last name? Vince Calvin went out there and done that.
Were you involved in that at all?
I went out there. I just told them what we were looking for. I found the fasteners for them and took them out there, and then they put it together.
Steve and
Myers.
Vince and you.
Yeah.
I want to thank each and every one of you. Well done.
It looks good.
I can't explain, I've been looking at that overlook since before it was rebuilt a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
For the past 10 years, it's never had that safety feature that we added, and I never recognized it until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. No, I don't think anybody did.
And I
Rick,
think it's one of those things that was in plain sight, but it clicked like, what have we not done here?
Yeah.
And I appreciate you jumping on that so quickly.
Yeah, they got it done. Well, I really didn't do much, so the credit's got to go to those guys
No,
because they really knocked it out. I'm surprised they knocked it out as
You're the
fast
person
as they did.
we talked to, and you got it done, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. De La Rosa annually requests a free fishing day in June, on June 7th. So you have before you a flyer. Its brand identity is Letters from the Lagoons, which is something I created back in 2019 when I was involved with the Lagoons, before Mike took it over, before I took it back. And this is to augment the flyer that they themselves have developed. And one of the main things this is intended to do is just reserve Shelter 1 on that date from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. It also provides, it reminds them of the emergency contact number, 911, and the street address of the Lagoons in case they need that. So that's what I developed and provided to them, and then I'll post that at the Lagoons a couple weeks before the event, unless there's any comments or feedback from the board. The other thing I would like to mention in regards to the Lagoons is Do we have an update on the potential property acquisition?
It's coming from his report. Todd's report, it's part of his report.
Okay, so it's not under lagoons, okay. Then that's all I have.
Thank you, Rick, for taking care of the Optimus and Lions. All right, General Manager, he has a number of different things. It was too many to list, or we'd been on 3 or 4 pages, so.
Well, since Rick just mentioned it, there has been a letter sent just asking a request to contact me about the land that's out front there. Still nothing. So I don't know what's going on there.
Was that return receipt?
I took it out there and I put it in the door of the house, Rick, is what I did with a business card and everything, and with on our letterhead, and I still haven't gotten anything. So
Okay.
So the next step is to do a return receipt, and then maybe we can find out who's signing for it and contact them with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
In your packet, and we've been talking about the potential data center that's coming out here, the big power user, and things are, once again, they still continue to get hotter and hotter, and they've been asking for a will serve letter. So I had a discussion with Alicia, and I'll let her take over here in a second. She wanted to put it together as a non-binding will serve letter, but they're really hot on this thing. And when I talked to Doug last week, he said the next 30 to 60 days are going to be very, very busy on this project. So, Alicia got this done this for us last week, and there was a couple little things I had to change, but I spoke with her about them, and just want to know if you guys are willing to do this, but I'll let Alicia fill you in on what everything means on it.
So essentially what this does is this just tells them that we can provide up to 300 megawatts of electrical capacity, but I made it subject to a variety of things. For example, we need all of the agreements between them and us in order to do it. They are going to donate land for a substation, and so they would need to execute that land contribution agreement. The building of a line in order to use it, payment of all costs and fees by the customer, a successful rate implementation, because we don't have a rate for a giant user like that. So that was something that we would have to go in front of the IURC to get. So that would have to be successfully completed in order for this to go through. And then appropriate power provision by IMPA, because if we can't get the power from IMPA to supply them, then we obviously can't supply them either. So I put a bunch of kind of contingencies in there. This is non-binding, so if something were to happen that we had, we weren't able to get power from IMPA, we weren't able to get the IURC rate increase, those sorts of things, then this would not be something that they could sue us over because it is non-binding. It would only be available for a period of 3 years, and I did put that it's a first come, first served basis. So if other customers come, then they could potentially use that. If they, sit on their heels and don't do anything for 2.5 years, then it may not still be available at that point. But what we're saying is right now, at this moment, we can supply the electricity, assuming that we meet all of the qualifications that we have before them. And then this basically just makes it so that they can move forward with their process. They need to be able to show that they're shovel ready in order to move forward with their investors and that sort of thing. And this basically is the requirement that they need to meet in order to do that from our standpoint. According to Todd, we are capable of providing the power to them, and it would be something that would generate revenue. So it wasn't a negative thing, but that's where we're at.
Are all the contingencies and conditions in the, I guess you'd call it, interlocal agreement or the document? I see the last page that we're supposed to sign. I don't see all the stuff you mentioned.
Yeah, in the letter, there's on the first page of the letter, which should be in the packet, there are 6 enumerated
Okay.
contingencies. Those are the ones that I just read off.
Coming from a position of what's standard practice, for example, at the Lilly site in Lebanon, they've designed a dual feed source provider from 2 different utilities. Will that be the case here, Todd, or do you know anything about that?
No, not right. And that hasn't been discussed, Rick. I know they were talking about dual feed in case it goes down, but when they realized where the capacity at the sub is right there north of Conagra, and it's a short run, and I don't know how many feeds are coming into them, but they're looking. I think they're going to be okay. When you got a big building protecting 80% of the line that's going to have to come down there. Right now, they're not pushing that with us, but
Okay.
we do know that there is 230 megawatts available at that sub right now.
So from a utility standpoint, again, in my experience, the other utility, oddly enough, that is a essential part of this kind of development is water. Have you been approached in terms of water, or are they going to drill their own wells?
No, they're in the city limits. They can't drill their wells, but right now they're saying they're estimating 1 million gallons a day is what they're estimating right now, which is fine for us.
And that would that be returned to the ground or returned through our sanitary?
They haven't gotten that far into their design. That's some of the question that's been asked. If they would if they would recycle it to cool it, that's still part of their process, because what I've been told is that there's new technology every week on how they're cooling these things, and they're going for the biggest and greatest and best at this point in time.
And 1 million gallons a day of cooling water would not be of any big impact to our capacity for serving other customers?
No, not at all.
And my last question, and don't take this as being critical, take it for being curious, because I know what's happened in the past 3 years of economic development efforts that the utilities have been involved in. Is any of this in writing, or are you just getting involved in telephone conversations and meetings?
No, there's some other stuff that they sent for the land contribution and
Mhm.
everything that Alicia's had in her possession. She's redlined it. It's back in their possession.
Mhm.
But really, Rick, from an economic development standpoint, I'm telling you everything I know. I know right now. That's how this has been handled, and it's going quicker and quicker all the time.
They did supply 2 documents that I've reviewed. One of them was a sample agreement, which we really can't do anything with at this point because we don't have any rates yet, so it's impossible to do that. But that document, I believe, is going to Clayton so that he can work
Yes.
through that with the IURC perspective, because that's something that I don't generally work with. And then we wouldn't move forward with a rate increase or anything like that until we were certain that that was something that was going to move forward. And then the second document that I have reviewed is that land contribution agreement pertaining to the land that they would donate for the substation. So they have been working through some documents. I don't think there's any, promise that they're going to put it in or anything in writing to that effect. We're kind of in the preliminary stages at this point where they're just trying to get their investors in line and make sure that they're shovel ready. So it's very possible that it would still fall through and it wouldn't happen, which is why, again, we don't want to bind ourselves to something that maybe doesn't occur.
So my last question, in terms of use the term project gatekeeping, what is the trigger point on their side that would then obligate us for purchasing equipment, construction, make ready?
I think that, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I think they still need to come to terms with the city and everything before we would agree to anything like that.
So our letter that we have prepared, the will serve letter, says that if ground is not broken within 3 years, then this letter is no longer valid. So for purposes of us being, quote unquote on the hook, which is a non-binding letter anyway, but for that, they would have a 3-year period from the date that the letter was signed to break ground in order for us to have to supply that to them. From a city perspective and us having to supply it, we would have to go in front of the IURC and get that rate implemented before we would be able to do anything, and that's one of the contingencies. So they'd have to meet all of those contingencies, and then they'd also have to break ground within 3 years in order for it to become effective. And then, and at this point, I don't know if they have purchased the ground yet.
I personally think they have.
You think they have?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not aware if they've actually purchased the ground or not, so I can't speak to that. But I do know that they are trying to get everything in a row. They have gone in front of the BZA to get some variances for the projects, things like that. So they are moving forward with it, but before we would have to do anything, they'd have to meet all these contingencies that we put in the letter.
And when they were at the BZA, it is a $1.7 billion investment that they're putting in, if they put it in here. It's huge. So.
Can you speak to, Alicia, did that BZA meeting, was it broadcast live and live streamed?
I believe it was. I
Okay.
think all of the BZA meetings are. I believe the only one that hasn't traditionally been broadcast is the Redevelopment Commission and the Building Corporation meetings that are sometimes held. I believe the BZA is usually broadcast.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
And Mayor agrees that it was.
Next item, Todd? You have
Pardon?
more?
Not on that subject, Mike, no.
Does this need action this evening?
They're actually, I got a text message while I was here and asking if it had been approved yet, and I said, we haven't talked about it yet, so.
So we basically have to make a motion to approve this letter as a non-binding agreement.
If you want
and
to.
then sign the letter.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, they're ultimately, we don't have to do anything. We theoretically wouldn't have to do a will serve letter if we didn't want to. If we want to move forward and try and get this company to come here, that's something that they've asked us to do, but it's up to the board whether or not you actually want to approve it and move forward. It's just a step that they've asked us to help them with so that they can move forward with their investors and that
Since
sort of
we're here to serve the city users as well as other users in our service area, and the city is moving forward with zoning variance, I believe.
It wasn't a zoning variance. It was a variance on compliance with the Uniform Development Ordinance, but yes.
Okay. Technically, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will make a motion because the potential user has requested this letter. I'll make a motion for the board to sign this letter, also recognizing it's a non-binding, quote, obligation, if you will.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? And I, from my standpoint, I think it's wise to do this because we don't want to put any roadblocks in the way right away.
No.
And if they requested this, I think it's a good idea.
We need more business in town.
Yeah.
And
Roll
Todd, excuse me,
Go
Todd,
ahead.
does any of this infrastructure use any of the electric utility extension to ConAgra that was put in place?
No,
Okay.
no, it's gonna come right, it'll go or just right down the railroad track and hop over the railroad track, and the sub will be sitting right there.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
Okay, and on this, before I pass it around, I have 2 copies here. I have a copy where everyone, all the 4 of you sign it along with me, or do you want that one, or do you want the one just with the board members?
With you, my preference.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, there's 2 copies there, and then we can go from there. All right. We'll go to this one next. At the last meeting, we discussed the digger derrick truck for the electric. And Rick asked me to get some more information and everything on it, which I did. And it's a 1996. And then the last few years, probably going back 4 or 5 years, we put $27,836 worth of parts on this. That doesn't include the labor. The new truck is a 2-year lead time, $420,992. And if we could finance that for 6 years at the rate of $83,604.60. And in the packet today, or in the claims, there's a claim in there for $27,622.44, which that truck then is paid off, and there's no other financing going on in the electric department. The current balance and depreciation is $863,272. And we transfer $100,000 into depreciation every year. And then, Rick, I think the last question that you would ask is what our income looks like from the electric. And I took the last 4-year average off the budgets, and we have a positive gain of $763,681.50 on average for the last 4 years.
Is that after making the payment on that truck that was there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you looking for a board motion or what?
Yes, if we could put this on order is what we would like to do.
My question would be, what would the impact be if we waited until the board conducts their mid-year financial review, probably in August?
You're throwing darts at that point in time. If it goes out longer, or if the prices go up, I don't know. I really don't know. I can't answer that.
And the amount we're obligating ourselves to is how much again?
$420,992.
And we're going to spread that out over 6 years.
Yes.
To confirm, the 6 years
And-
would start after the 3-year lead time or during the 3-year lead time?
No, not until we take delivery.
Okay, so it'd be 6 years after we take delivery.
Yeah. 6 years after we take delivery. And the payment would be $83,604 is what the payment would be for 6 years.
And to my understanding, this is coming out of the 6303 line item, electric depreciation. That would
Yep.
be the funds that we would pull it out of.
Yep.
Which it looks like currently has a balance of $863,000, as you reflected.
Yep.
So the most we would be on the hook for at any one given year is $83,000, based on what you're saying.
Yes.
So to my understanding, then I feel if we're talking about a 2-year lead time, I don't want to waste any time for this. If this is an important element that our employees need to make sure that they're functioning at the correct level, we clearly have the funds available. We're talking about 10% of what we currently have in that account, which is created specifically for these reasons. We're responsible in managing those funds. I would move that we would approve the order for a new digger derrick truck.
Second that.
Further discussion?
So I have one discussion follow-up. What, if any, anticipated financial needs do you have looking forward? Other vehicles that you have to purchase because it's got so many miles on it, or it's got rust in the back corner?
In the last 8 years, Rick, we've done a pretty good job with that because we've got a line truck, another line truck, 3 years ago, Phil? And we replaced the small trouble trucks. The bucket truck is still in good shape. Right now, I just don't foresee anything, and Phil can attest to that we're in really pretty good shape with all our vehicles at this point.
So I'm hearing you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm hearing your answer something to the effect that we don't have any anticipated needs for electric trucks or vehicles.
No.
At this time.
No.
Okay, that helps. Okay.
And
No.
One further discussion I've got. When we had this storm, took out how many poles out there? 17, maybe more. If we were down to one digger derrick, you couldn't have done that in a timely fashion, correct?
Correct.
That's why I support that 100%.
There's a digger derrick on each crew, and one digger derrick goes down and hampers the other crews. So
You can't leapfrog and do what you were doing.
So which job takes more priority.
Right.
And then try to find stuff.
Everybody wants their power back on. You need the equipment to get that taken care of. I support it 100%.
And we clearly have the funds to do it.
Correct.
All right, let's do a roll call.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. You can send it.
Okay. Bill will get a hold of him tomorrow. All right, now we're here to hopefully spend some more money. It's a brutal, no, this one's not as brutal as that. Chase got a hold of me last week. We got a 2013 pickup with 160,000 miles on it, and it needs almost $2,000 in repairs. I had looked at a pickup, and then when I talked to Chase, he was talking that he would like to see him get one of the cargo vans, because it's more for the meter shop, right? Where they can get their meters or equipment. They're not exposed out there. People come by and steal the brass and all that type of stuff. So we did some checking, and Lebanon has one, and it's our cost would be $52,026.25. And currently in water depreciation, we have $1,222,788.
Can I interrupt you just a
Yes.
second? Okay. Chase just showed me the SRF balance that we can either pay the interest. Can this van be taken out of the SRF remaining balance, the state revolving fund, like we did for PJ?
How much is in there?
200 and some thousand.
239,000 in the interest.
I'm just,
We would have to, again, I spoke to you earlier about it, we'd have to correctly word it.
correct.
Because they are not overly excited about allowing trucks that are just daily trucks like that.
But it's a service truck.
But we could technically call it a service van.
Correct.
And that is what it is doing, that is its job. So, I mean, it could be worded correctly to make
I know we did that for PJ and got the service truck out of it.
Well, we're getting all the meters and stuff through the SRF loan, and if we lean it something towards that, I mean, I don't have a problem looking at that. It's fine with me.
Just another avenue to look at versus taking it out of the depreciation fund.
What I can say is they are asking for a plan because they are ready to close this out.
Right. And again,
Sooner than later.
right, that's kind of was the way PJ was on spending his. I mean, it's there, it was approved. It's just money we saved off the project. We could use the van, and I like the van idea better because you can keep the meters and brass secure, like Todd said.
And the interest that would be moving to principal does not sniff the upcoming payments.
Yeah, see, that's what
So,
I'm saying. So
it'll
if
sit there
if it
for
could be
25
used-
more years.
Right, right. If it could be used for that, I support that 100%.
And the reason you're asking for this purchase is you're faced with, did I hear it right, $2,000 in repairs on a piece of equipment we currently have? So you want to spend 50?
Well, it's kind of the same boat. It's 12 years old with 160,000 miles on it.
My only concern is this. Several years ago, I recommended the board ask that a vehicle budget plan be developed. That went nowhere. I pointed to Lebanon and Franklin, Indiana, where they have a schedule of vehicles, their age and mileage, and they present that to the board on an annual basis. And from that, they build their budget around, we're gonna replace these specific vehicles this year. I thought that was a better approach because generally I'm not in favor of at one board meeting after another. We need $250,000 here. We need $100,000 here. We need $50,000 here. It's great. We all have a lot of new equipment, but there's no end to it. And I'm concerned that we're going on the premise that, oh, if we have a $2,000 repair, we're going to buy a $50,000 piece of equipment. That just rubs me the wrong way. It may call me old fashioned. So
Hold on a second. I have to strongly disagree with that,
That's
Rick, because okay, we came tonight with two new vehicles, and I can't tell you the last time that we came to the board about vehicles. You just made it sound like we come at every meeting with
No,
that,
it's
but
not. No, you're
but
right.
if you take okay, it's a $50,000 vehicle, and we get 12 or 13 years out of it, we get more out of it per year than what that repair does on something that's got 160,000 miles on it. You see what I mean? It's not like we're
I-
changing them every 3 or 4
No, no.
years. We're changing them every
I didn't
10,
mean-
15 to 20 years.
You're correct. I didn't mean to imply that, but what sticks in my mind is the vac truck, a new dump truck, a new pickup truck that's a heavier duty model than we've ever purchased before. I'm seeing these things roll through our system, and I'm wondering, well, okay, I guess we got money here. We're cutting checks, and you know, to some extent, it's justified. I'm wondering if we're in the right spot. So it's not being critical. It's just.
Well, and that's part of the thing with the depreciation accounts and everything that we have set up now, and putting the money in there for things like this. And some of these accounts are getting pretty high, and we had them there, and we had a need, and that's why
Okay.
I came to the board with it. So
Okay. Thank you.
I would move with a motion that we purchase the van for water, but check in with SRF first to see if we can get it off of that.
let us check on all that first before we go that route, just to make sure, because it'll take us 3 to 4 weeks to get that answer.
And we can do it two different ways with doing the purchase and asking for reimbursement, or we can do it as an SRF loan. So you can purchase it,
Okay.
pick it up, and then ask SRF if they approve it to go ahead and reimburse you for that amount.
Mike, could you kind of amend that motion
Yeah, I'll
to
amend the
something like,
motion that we purchase the van and then check with SRF to see if we can be reimbursed for it.
I'll
We have a
second that
motion.
motion.
second?
Mhm.
Discussion? Rick?
I'm gonna make a comment to be added to the open-ended business, wherever it went to. As the board does our mid-year financial review this year, I'd like the board to have considered between now and then, does anyone on the board anticipate requesting a rate increase for any of our utilities in the foreseeable future? I think that's something we need to ask ourselves. And if you could please put that on the open-ended business, that's my comment. Yes.
Will do.
Thank you.
We have a motion, now we have a second, so let's have a roll call.
Rick Gunyon,
Nay?
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
Now,
Go ahead.
since SRF funds came up, my question to you would be, do you feel we need to put together a plan to kind of close those funds out? Is there anything else we would need to consider for those dollars? And if so, is that something that we could work on to make sure that we have a plan for that?
Yes, we definitely need to get a plan together to
Sure.
figure out what it is that we want to do moving forward. I think that they are, again, wanting to close that out quickly.
Yes.
Have made the comment, it would be nice to know what's going to be coming forward instead of these individual items constantly being looked at.
Sure.
So, yeah, the plan would be great.
Okay. Can I make a note then that whoever is on Chase's team, which I believe is you,
Me.
and I'm happy to help with that or in every way, shape, or form. Obviously, I'm a little out of my depth. I don't know exactly how all of that works, but I'd be happy to participate in putting together a plan to make sure that we can use those funds wisely and actively to benefit you all. So, yep.
Okay, and something along kind of with that same thing. Within, not necessarily maybe the second meeting of June, could you have a list of all the vehicles, line mileage, and maybe a condition of them, like rusted out in all the fenders or whatever?
Maybe like the Kelly Blue Book system, like excellent, good, fair, not great, or whatever the last one is. I don't know.
So that, and that would
Smiley
be the
faces.
second meeting in June.
Green to red, you know.
Mike, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a way we can be both proactive and informed on where we're going in the future. So thank you for that.
All right. Anything else, Todd?
Yes. One more thing.
120,000, right?
No, no, this time, well, it might cost us money. Depends on what you guys decide. This started last week with the new fire station going out on 28. And there are system development charges that get charged to anyone that is tapping the sewer and the water that the county put in. And in the interlocal agreement, the utilities, or here it says the city, can assess a $500 per equivalent dwelling unit, and it's 17 and a half EDUs out there. So for waterworks, it's they should be identical. $8,750 for $500 for water, $500 for sewer. But in the interlocal agreement, it says that the city can waive those fees. It's at their discretion, because the big kicker is the county is $1,000 per EDU for water and $2,500 for sewer per EDU. So they're looking at $17,500 from the county and $43,750 for wastewater on that.
Can the county waive them too?
It's going to be tough. It says that they can, they will consider it, is what it says. But
My recollection of that agreement is that they have the ability to waive it, but it's up to them whether or not they would want to do it. And the same for you all, is that you guys can waive it if you want to, but it's up to you whether or not you would want to do it. And the purpose of that was that we didn't want to be, if the, the city of Frankfort and the utilities wanted to try for some economic development incentives, then we could waive those fees if we wanted to serve that purpose. And the same thing went with the county. If they wanted to try to, woo someone to come here, they could waive those fees. And that was kind of the purpose of putting that language in there. But the reason that the fees were in there is because both you all and the county were trying to recover some of the expense associated with putting those lines out there. So,
and we didn't have any expense putting them out.
Well, we didn't have any expense putting them out there, but there are expenses associated with it because we have the flushing and we have all of those.
We have the
things.
maintenance and we have other things. Yes,
Right.
correct.
So that was kind of the thought process, and that's why ours were lower than the county's, because the expense of what we were doing was a lot less than what the county was doing. So that's kind of a background on that from I don't remember when, but it was a while back. But that was
2019.
That was kind of a background.
So, as the general manager, can you clarify, are you informing the board of the cost? Or are you asking us to waive the cost, or what is it you're doing?
Well, we had to send an invoice last week. They had to do some steps to be able to get their building permit. So we sent the invoice, and then the questions came up along these lines, and that's when I got further into the interlocal agreement and everything else. I'm asking you if you want us to bill them or if you want to waive them so that I can get these invoices.
My next question.
Yeah.
At the time the building facility was planned and approved, was that cost known?
From my understanding, no.
Why not?
I don't know. I wasn't involved.
What makes you think it wasn't known? It was in place,
because
right?
it came after they got the invoices. It was told to me that they weren't aware that they was going to have these costs.
I recognize the mayor.
Yes.
That was not included in the GMP envoy for the project. It was not something that was included as specifically in the, what was it called?
The guaranteed maximum price, which is
Maximum price did not include that.
So can you speak to, Judy, was the ordinance in place for that charge? I think the ordinance.
Yeah, that was from 2019.
Yeah.
We just did the work with the boss.
Right. I think what Rick is asking is whether or not the city could have been aware of the costs associated with it in advance of asking for a waiver of it.
So Envoy reached out to me because they wondered why that was in there, because it's a lot of times cities will waive that fee since it's a city building, you know, the government building. They asked me, I said, I'll see what I can find out, otherwise, I mean, we'll just have to absorb that cost one way or another. So, I mean, it's totally whatever utilities feel comfortable with. They just said that most of the time that cities will waive that fee for the municipalities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My question is there a precedent for how this has been handled in the past? Have we had an example of where we've waived fees in the past for someone that's hooked up that's another municipal?
The only one that's really hooked up to it has been NHK for new development,
Well,
and
Okay.
they paid them.
I think for the police station project wasn't.
Now, they're not on that system. That was our old system. This is just
Right.
from Jefferson West.
No, I understand. There were waived fees
Sure.
for the police station though.
Not from the utilities, there wasn't.
Well, wait a minute.
They paid everything on that.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Okay.
They paid tap fees, everything, and the electric construction for the.
The answer is the utilities have waived those fees for certain developments, one of which was Tony Del Rio's development along 28. All those fees were waived at that time at his request on the
Where's that
basis
at?
of economic development.
Where's that at?
Where
Where
Jimmy
at?
John's is that?
Tony Del Rio's development. Jimmy John's,
No, because we didn't have any. He had to pay a tap fee. But these fees just have to go from Jefferson West, where it's in the new sewer and water that the county put in. But the other fees, if he tapped into our water and stuff like that, he had to pay tap fees, which they still had to pay tap fees, but it's the system development charge that we're talking about here.
well, okay.
Which was just in that agreement there or something.
Yes.
It was a part of that agreement from 2019
Yes.
that it specifies in there,
Yep.
page 3,
Yep.
there's a special thing in that agreement.
And the total amount of these fees that we may want to consider waiving because it's a city building is how much?
For us, it's just
17,500, right?
Yeah, about $17,500 for the utilities.
And the purpose of those fees, Alicia, could you help us with that?
The initial intention of those fees were to offset maintenance expenses associated with the creation of that line, including things like flushing or any maintenance items that we would have to pay for, so that any new development that came out there, because we've been flushing those lines since 2020.
Yeah.
Since 2020, any new development that came out there, that would help offset that cost, because right now with the limited development, there has been some maintenance that we've just had to pay.
And the power to the lift stations out there.
Yes, also that. I mean,
That's
any
not
expense,
that's not on the system development charge though.
but
Oh, it's not?
any expense that we're incurring to have those lines working appropriately and function, those are the expenses that this fee was designed to help offset.
And we're still incurring flushing costs, is that correct?
They're a lot lower right now, or next to none, because we don't have water in that tower out there right now, so that we could stop flushing. So we're not flushing, no.
And at some point, once there's enough development out there, we won't have to continue flushing, because then it will be enough water that we won't need to do that, because it won't get stale.
So
So,
does no
eventually-
one, okay, does no one have any fire protection system in place?
Yeah, they have fire protection out there.
And we're
we're pumping water. We're just not pumping it into the tower.
and we're pumping enough volume of water for a fire
Yep.
system to go off?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking more, that's good. I'm thinking more of the development across I-65. They have fire system, right?
Yep.
It doesn't change much. We're 57. Our static is typically 57 PSI. They're flowing about 1,100 gallons a minute.
I'd like to be a good partner with the city. I think we benefited some things from them, and I think probably we could be a good partner here.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we are bound by a contractual agreement to NHK to have a fire station out in that direction. It's something that the city has to do, especially as we continue to expand out west. And I believe this decision is an important precedent for us to set that we will continue to collaborate with our partners at the city of Frankfort. So I would move that we approve to waive the fees for both water,
System development charges
System
for
development
water
charges.
and wastewater.
for water and wastewater for the fire station project for the city of Frankfort.
Second,
Discussion.
that's not the tap fees, right?
No.
It's just the system.
Just
Yep.
system development charges.
I'm good with
Do,
that.
do you have a request for waiving tap fees?
They're not gonna do that. We charged them to the pool, we charged them to the police station, we've charged them everywhere, and we're gonna charge them here.
Roll call.
Rick Gunion.
Because this is a municipal building, I will vote aye.
Mike Reeder.
Aye.
Krista Stillwell.
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
That's all I have. I'm tired of standing.
That's all?
That's all.
All right, you have an opportunity to look at the claims, transfers, and payroll. And questions or a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve the claims and payroll and transfers.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion, questions. Roll call.
Rick Gunion.
Aye.
Krista Stillwell.
Aye.
Mike Reeder.
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. Give us a little update, please, Krista, on where, I know we're meeting this week, so go ahead and tell them where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike and I are going to be meeting on Wednesday to fully, hopefully, complete the handbook review process. And then we will have a draft handbook that will be assembled pending the completion of that review for you all to review as well before we can go ahead and send that for legal review and HR review, as I believe it was discussed in our last meeting that the board would like to review it as a whole prior to us sending it to our legal and HR counsel. So that is the update on that status. So expect something, I would say, first of next week-ish, once we can get the Word document put together of those language adjustments in the new handbook.
Thank you.
Can you include, you folks include the two associated documents that you're integrating or considering in the new proposed handbook?
Sure, yeah, that's
Both
no problem
city
at all.
utilities.
We,
Okay.
hopefully you'll be able to have side by side.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, the next item is something that I put on here because I think it's important that sometimes people need a little lead time before they have to present something. And so there was a request, this will come from Rick, and if you have something that you want to request as a board member, just get it to me. But this request on updating the legislative requirements implications for the USB. I felt it was unfair to ask Alicia to do that and have 2 or 3 days to get it to us. So I've asked her to update us at the next meeting of USB about that particular legislative requirement.
Well, if I can comment, because I purposely had a brief discussion with Alicia. She was kind enough before the city council meeting this past Monday. So I'd like to, if you can agree, allow Alicia to determine the timing to come back to the board with that update. I don't think it's necessary we have it in the next meeting.
Okay, I don't have any problem with that.
We'll let Alicia speak to that, but my understanding is the process she normally runs each year for not only this entity, this board, but other communities and boards, she has a process for, and I'd just like to take advantage of that. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so after, so legislative session is right during tax season, so it never happens immediately. But after I get kind of my feet back under me after tax season, I go through and there is a document that the legislature puts out that has a summary of all of the different bills that have passed and kind of what they do. And then what I'll do is I go through that and see if there are any of my entities that I work with or municipalities that I work with that they would apply to. And then I pull the ones that are pertinent. And if there's anything that needs updated, like, House Bill 1167 or 1067 or whatever, that one was one that year I brought to the attention of my municipality. So if there's anything that I see that we need to address or we need to worry about, then I kind of go through and let the appropriate parties know. In the past, I haven't done it necessarily always at a meeting, but I would let the chairperson know, and then that would get communicated. Or if it was something like this one, we did talk about that one at a meeting. So some things are really nominal and they don't really affect that much, and some things are a big deal, and if they are a big deal, then I'll bring them to everybody's attention. But that's part of my normal process, just to make sure that everybody's complying with state law, because we don't want to miss something. So that's something that I usually do. I try to get it done before July 1st because a lot of the bills will be implemented July 1st. So that's usually something I do in May or early June, just to make sure that we're in compliance in advance. So.
Well, thank you. That's the information for the board. I appreciate the update. So just to follow up, I had an unplanned offline discussion with Alan Dunn from the county council and Eric Woods from city council, as it turns out. And one of the interesting things is that they were unaware, and it has no impact today. One of the legislative actions passed this year by the governor was expansion of the valid reasons for an executive session to include insurance discussions, certain insurance discussions. So that will certainly be one of the changes that affects this board. So I think that approach from Alicia, from my perspective, works real well. So thank you for that.
We will just delay until you're ready to do that.
I'm hoping that I can get it done before the next meeting, just because, like I said, it's important if they do take effect on July 1st and there's any changes we need to make, that we have adequate time to do that. So that's my goal already. But I will have to see how things shake out. But that's definitely on the to-do list, just as a general practice anyway.
And Alicia, I want to highlight for you House Bill 1459. It was specifically regarding water and wastewater utility asset management. There is a new requirement that's going to be put in place as of January 1st, 2027, that the governing bodies will be required to complete quadrennial trainings. Okay. So if you could just look into that just to make sure, because I definitely believe that will affect us.
Yep, and Todd has already mentioned that one to me. So, he made sure I was aware of that. So that one's on my radar. Aside from my normal go through, that one I was already aware of. So I'll make sure that I get something together to kind of talk about those things.
Sure. Thank you.
We reached the end of the agenda. If you have something you want to see on the agenda next time, be sure and send a message to me, or you can ask after the meeting tonight or whatever. Anything else for the good of the cause for the USB tonight?
So if I may, due to the lateness of the hour, let me just identify for the meeting minutes 3 items I requested be put on tonight's agenda we didn't get to. 1, utility street cuts. 2, discussion of board consensus on USB agendas. 3, where is it here? Jefferson Street lights. 4, the request from December of 2024 I made for an update to the board on ACCS FMU contract. So if we can make a note of that and cover those.
That will be on the next. That one will be on the next. He forgot 2 of those.
I forgot 2 of those.
Well, let me, before you
okay
respond, I just want to make sure Andrew, do you have what I listed here?
Street cuts, USB agendas, Jefferson streetlights, ACCS contract.
USB agendas.
Yes, street
Okay.
cuts, USB agendas, Jefferson streetlights, ACCS contract.
You got it. Thank you. Todd?
Sorry about that.
No, that's
with all
fine.
the other stuff.
That's fine.
Jefferson streetlights, I was able to finally get the right person. They created a job ticket. I went out there and I drove and I had to give them some poll numbers just to be able to get them to start looking at it and what type of lights and everything else. But there is now a job ticket that has been created, and I'm waiting for them to call me back and say, okay, we're going to be out there. But
Great.
I have the number and everything. It's actually written down in my car. So I have made progress
So
there.
we're making progress. Great. Thank you.
But
for
there's
that.
not a whole lot of places to put them out there because there's not a whole lot of poles on the roads. They're everything's behind houses and stuff. But I picked some out just to at least get them there looking at it.
But I appreciate your comments, but it's not our service area. Am I right?
No.
So it's not our problem.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, but
Okay.
I'm knee deep into it,
So,
or neck
so
deep
for
into
residents
it.
that
So
want streetlights
yeah.
and there's no poles,
yeah.
that's their discussion, right? Okay. Thank you.
And
Street
then on
cuts.
street cuts, you mentioned the one there by your place. That one, we went back and we took care of that and we concreted to the top of the road. Chase got a hold of me, a month ago maybe, and he had been doing some research, got with the street department, and then after he got that answer, I spoke with the mayor, and they went, and then Brian went to building services. They looked with the ordinance, very vague, but they told us to go ahead and start trying the things, and instead of putting the patch down and then patching it with blacktop, just filling them up to the street, top of the street with concrete. So we're doing that for a little while here as we're doing things. But you mentioned Kiger Street. That is on the, they're going to completely be milling that down. That's why all that work was done there. So we haven't spent the money to patch those holes when they're going to just come and cut it. Because if you go down Barner Street, West Barner, it's worse than Kiger right now because that one's getting it as well. So that's where we're at with the street cuts, Rick.
Well, first of all, thank you for getting the South Williams Road. That's probably just as close to my house as it is to your house.
Now you're close, or it's on your side of the street, so.
Well, it's probably just as close.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So it strikes me that as far as I can remember, the process we used was we had a separate contractor come back
Yeah.
with asphalt patching.
Yeah.
What happened to that process?
You go right ahead. You want to come up here?
I can. We've talked about spending money a lot this evening. I approached Todd last fall during budget season and recommended that we did the patching ourselves, right? And that would save from spending money on an outside contractor. Then I also spoke with Todd about taking a step out of the equation and concreting all the way up to the top instead of coming back and doing the same job twice. That's how we came up with that.
And then Chase got involved as well, yeah.
We also talked about vehicle wear and tear, and things like that, so that is all saving money by not doing it ourselves.
I applaud that. I like outside the box thinking. I like people looking at options. From a personal standpoint, the main thing is it gets the job done. I think it sounds like Barner and Kiger are special cases where there's going to be paving,
Yes.
which is planned. So my only question remaining, and thank you for that idea, if the edge, the height of the current street cut repair is like it was on Williams Road, should we not have someone put a little asphalt ramp, on the driving direction so you don't tear a tire off your car when you hit that bump?
Well, so you won't get that bump anymore is what
Yeah.
we're trying to say. We're filling all the way to the top now, so it'll be plated while the
Okay,
concrete
when you're
sets.
done, but aren't there weeks that have went by on Kiger where that's not been done yet? We don't want to do it?
Again, we didn't go all the way to the top on Kiger because that's being milled down.
Okay, so how much is the street cut?
On Kiger, they're not as deep. Normally they're 2 inches? Inch and a half to 2 inches.
Yes.
Kiger's actually closer. So maybe an inch because we knew they were gonna be milling it. But after that, like what we've been saying is they're just gonna be smooth to the top of the road surface from here on out.
Okay.
Just like the one there by our place.
Well, you're the experts. If you feel that topping them to the top with concrete is just as good or better, I'm all for it.
Well, right now, the way that they are done, we can't go and do the others because concrete would just crack without chipping it out. But the one there by our place at Williams Road and Harbor Terrace wasn't poured the best. It was gonna have to be chipped out anyway, so we just took it out and redid it. What, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday is when we done that one. So,
Okay.
but the other major places that you see, those roads are getting milled and completely paved right now.
Okay, well,
Or there is
again,
a handful that have been sent to the previous contractor before we changed our mind about how we were approaching it, that haven't been done yet that I'm aware of.
so,
Would you all mind, just from a communication standpoint, and you guys will probably get tired of hearing me ask you these questions, but can you guys make a quick list of those? And what I will do is I will put something out on social media. We can even partner with the city to put something out as a press release and just say to people, hey, these are here. There's a possibility you're going to drive over them. Please understand they're being addressed. So that way, nobody feels like they're not being heard. Nobody feels like they're not being listened to.
Or if they're not gonna be done in a timely fashion, we go chip them out and we fill them to the top anyway.
Yeah. And we can explain the process that you guys are using for that. Because again, I understand. I mean, I was just in the city of Indianapolis last week. There's basements on their streets that aren't being filled in. But I also understand people's frustration if they drive over something, they think it's not being addressed. So in the spirit of collaborative communication, if you guys will send me those lists, I'll put together a couple social media posts about it and we can get those put out for you guys.
Okay.
I would love them weekly. Send them as much as you want.
now when you say social media posts, are you speaking about the Facebook page
Yes.
utility manages?
Yes, the Facebook page that Frankfort Municipal Utilities manages, and then I would also share those with the city so that she could, in collaboration, share those to the City of Frankfort Facebook page as well. And if the mayor chooses to put it on her page, by goodness, she can put it on her page too. So,
Well, again, I thank you for being proactive, the three of you or whoever's involved here.
These guys here got started and then we just worked on it.
If
and got there.
anytime from a workflow standpoint, anytime you can cut out a step of the process, you're ahead in time and money usually. So I like the idea. The main thing is it got it remedied, it got it fixed. So thank you for that. And we can take that off the open items list for next meeting. It's been handled.
mic drop.
Anything else for the good of the cause tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.